Hey guys, Bittersteel here, back with another video. And I've been getting a lot of questions about supply. Bittersteel, how does supply work? What am I doing wrong? Why are my troops starving? Well, never fear, here we are. I'll give you the quick and dirty, how does the new supply system work? So let's go into the supply map mode. F4. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful, is it not? Okay, so it all starts with your capital, which is this, was that a hexagon? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, sextagon? Never mind. It starts with the capital supply hub. This is where all supply originates, and these weird little trains get pumped out, and those go to the other hubs, like this one here in Volkov, or closer to the front here in Gomel, or even Chernigov. From these hubs, supply is then disseminated to the troops using either horses, trucks, or a lot of trucks. Every supply hub is connected all the way back to the main supply node. You can see the red line here. That connects all the way back through the network to the main supply hub. So this is the route the supply takes to get to the selected node. It's a pretty long distance, but it will always try to take the highest level railway possible. Why the highest level? Well, the amount of supply that an individual hub like this one can actually give to the troops in its range is decided by the railway connecting it to the main hub. It doesn't matter if you have 5,000 gallons of water that you're trying to pour into a cup if you're trying to get it through a straw. No. The bigger the railway, or the higher the railway's level, the more supply it can push through the network towards the various nodes. So this one is level 3 all along the route, you can see here. And if you notice you're having some supply issues, like I'm having here, around, what is this? Chernigov, there are two ways of handling it. One, you manually build up the railway all the way back to the main supply hub. Now, of course, this is tedious. Very, very tedious. So I'm going to delete these because I don't want tedium in my games. An easier way is to simply select the hub and click this button here. It says upgrade railways. If you click it once, you bring everything up one level. Click it twice, it goes up 2 levels. And now the button's gray and can no longer be clicked. That means we have reached the maximum amount of railways queued up. And they're now here all the way back from St. Petersburg to Chernigov. We have queued up a level 5 railway. If you were to do that on a node that has different levels in between the main capital and the current node, like this one here. What is this? Novosibirsk? Sorry, my Russian's not that great. If you click it once, it will upgrade the lowest level railway in the network to bring it up to par with what's already there. Click it again, it will upgrade the rest, and again, and again, and again, until you reach the maximum of upgrades. So this all gets added to the queue. It's an easy way of automating the process. It already requires a bit of micromanagement. Now, of course, there are more buttons up here. Let's talk about those. Allied supply. Turn that off. Your allies can no longer draw supply from this node, which is pretty good because the allies usually just suck up your supply and contribute nothing. The other option to the right here is also very interesting. It's the motorization level. Now, what does that do? In short, it increases the range of your hub. Let's set it to the standard level of motorization, the horse. This is where everything begins. And you can see when I mouse over it, there are two varying colors of stripes on the map. You have dark stripes and you have bright red stripes. The dark stripes are the area that the hub can actually cover currently, while the bright red stripes are areas that the hub could cover if it were to be given trucks. So if you give it trucks, you see one section of the hub is now being covered as well, in addition to what it already was covering, but not all of it. If you give it more trucks, it will now cover the maximum range it can. This is useful for two things. One, providing supplies to units that are just on the very edge of your supply hub. And two, if you have a supply hub like this one that is currently a little overloaded, you could set the supply hub in both the Gomel node and the Chernigov node to motorization, and that would make them overlap. And if two nodes can share the burden of supply, it just gets a little bit easier on the network, and your troops can actually have the bullets they need or the shoes they so desperately need to survive this Russian winter. Sounds good? I think that sounds reasonable. Now, as for railways themselves, other than transporting supplies through the network from the capital to whatever destination they're going at, they don't actually provide supply themselves. They speed up movement via, where is the button? Via railroading, via strategic redeployment, but they don't actually reduce the supply consumption in the region or provide supply to troops. Now, what does help with supply in a local region is infrastructure. Infrastructure still does what it's always done, so it will increase the raw resource extraction, as you can see here on Orel, gives us a little bit of extra steel and chromium, but it also increases the supply throughput, making it more efficient. So if you max out the roads in the region, your horses and your trucks will have an easier time reaching your troops, so the efficiency goes up. There is no longer as much supply being lost to various factors. And it also increases the fuel capacity of units in the region. That is mostly important for trucks. They have a certain fuel capacity that they can carry with them in the region, and a certain consumption. If their consumption outstrips their capacity, that means they're out of fuel and they're not going anywhere. Usually that's not an issue if you're fighting in your own terrain within supply, because there's always supply trucks coming in and resupplying your tanks. But if you're pushing or fighting on the very edges of your supply zone, it might be very beneficial to fight in areas with higher infrastructure just to make your tanks go a little bit longer, because they've got a little bit more fuel to work with. This pretty much simulates going over good roads as opposed to through the Ardennes. Other things of note are that you can also build supply hubs. Supply hubs can be built wherever you want. Usually you want to place these in strategic regions. For instance, this is my defense of the Stalin, or rather Romanov line. And because I knew I was going to lose the supply hub in Kiev, it's on the wrong side of the river, I built a new one here in Chernigov. I can build a new one here as well, or one here. That might actually be easier because it's actually connected to a railway. These are expensive. They cost 20,000 industrial capacity. To put that in perspective, that is, let's see, let's add a factory to this. That is almost double the cost of a civilian factory. Pretty pricey. They won't be built quickly, so you want to plan where you place these. They will not be something you just spam out wherever. Now, let's say you are having some troubles with your railway network. The Germans have pushed into Kiev and cut your line here. Well, fortunately, you can always build more railways. Or, what is a better example, here in Turkey. Turkey does not start with a very good railway network. So what do? You connect things up. A lot of people are currently having trouble with actually building railways, so I'll quickly tell you how that works. Pick whatever zone you want to start with, either a supply hub or a current railway. It doesn't really matter, but it has to start on either a railway or a supply hub. I'll take this hub here as an example. We click railways, and then we click in the province itself. Not the railway hub, but the province on which the hub is built. And click on the province, and we drag. And then we either plug it into an existing railway network, like so, or we do something else. We build it towards a different hub and plug it in there, like so. Or if we just want to build a road to nowhere, you can do that as well. Just drag wherever you want to go and just click on the province that is the destination. You don't even have to hold down the mouse button while doing this. It's just a click and you move the mouse. You don't need to hold down the button. You can, doesn't matter, but you don't have to. You can draw the weirdest shapes with this. The length doesn't really matter. The only thing you need to take into account is don't make the railways go through unpassable terrain. It really messes with your unit AI because they will try to redeploy strategically. So the old railroading, they will try to use the actual railway network to do it. And if it goes through unpassable terrain, yeah, things get weird. Now, how does all that sweet railway goodness work? Well, obviously, railways require trains. As you can see here, there's a certain amount of trains and trucks required to fulfill your logistical needs. As you have more troops drawing more supply from varying hubs, you're gonna need more trains to bring all that equipment to the front. Trains need to be in stockpile. The game will automatically draw them from the stockpile, use them like it would use for instance, convoys when trading, and when it no longer needs as many trains, it will put them back in the stockpile. Most countries are just going to be fine by putting one factory on making tanks. They are under the infantry and artillery equipment, civilian trains. Or if you want to go fancy, there are some research options under support companies. Scroll down. You have the basic civilian train. You have the cheaper war austerity civilian train. This is pretty much just a stripped down train for the military. It's cheap to make. How is it? This is 50 and 1 steel. A standard train is 1 steel and 70 production cost, so it is significantly cheaper in the long run. Or if you want to go the complete opposite route, you don't want to be bombed, or well, you've just accepted that you will be bombed. How about you make your tanks or trains harder to bomb? You can make the armored trains. These require twice as much steel, more than twice as much production cost, but they are armored and will not be as easy to blow up. Now, I don't know how the current numbers work with the way CAS really decimates logistics right now. I can't tell you if these are worth it now or will be worth it in future, but it's a very cool roleplay element, not to mention that it leads to these bad boys, the railway cannons. This is just amazing, but I'll cover this in a different video. These are not related to supply. Now, what else is required for supply? Trucks. Trucks will only be needed if you start motorizing hubs. Obviously, if you motorize none of your hubs, you technically don't need trucks, but you will want to motorize your hubs as much as possible. It will make it so much easier for you to handle. And those trucks will work the same way convoys do. The game will automatically draw them from your stockpiles as needed and put them back when that need is lessened. Pretty much every country you play will start to put at least a couple of factories on trucks early game, and this is usually set it and forget it unless you're getting 1, extremely heavy bombing, or 2, you're making tank divisions that include trucks and you're taking mad casualties. For instance, I've had like 3 factories on trucks for most of the game, and then I've upped it to 5 because it's nice to fill the entire bar, and I'm sitting on 8k unused trucks. I could ramp this down to 2 factories and not even care at this point. Trucks are very much set it and forget it, but you will want to start to build them early. This has been my quick and dirty guide on how to supply. I hope you found it useful, and if you want to see where this current game is going, well, stay tuned. I have a guide coming up for the Romanovs' last laugh, so I hope to see you there. Anyway, if you like this video, leave a like, consider subscribing, and hit that bell icon to be notified whenever I upload more content. Maybe check out the membership down there if you want to support the channel and help me do what I do. Anyway, this has been me, Bitter Steel. I hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye.